I'm J.D. Green. I've been a face on the radio in Vermont for well over 20 years. And although I've loved my career in radio, I had a vision about bringing my connection to the community to a different platform, to social media, where I could create a blueprint of a podcast that's something constantly evolving, knowing that there's always room for new experiences and learning, discovery, exploration, new questions to ask, and answers to be sought after. A program without limitations, but still with intention to tell a more in-depth story behind what makes us tick, what inspires us, what makes us realize that the what and when is only secondary to the how. And it's the how and the why that I want to uncover. It's my hope with this podcast that I can inspire, inform, that we can learn together and tell the bigger stories behind our lives. That's our story. My real story off the air. I'll try to push the boundaries, arouse your curiosity, and ask the questions you want answers to. Maybe questions no one's asked. The good and the not so good. What's going on in Vermont as well as across our great country. Things you'll agree with, things you might not. It's my hope to laugh with you, cry with you, entertain and enlighten you, but mostly learn with you. Please make sure to support your local public access TV station, subscribe to my YouTube podcast, Aired Out, engage by sharing your comments, and invite your friends to be part of it too. Thanks for tuning in. This is Aired Out. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of our broadcast Aired Out. My name is J.D. Green. Our sponsors, CBDcrave.com, the quality you deserve. Top brands in CBD products delivered fresh and straight to your door. Peak Entertainment of Vermont and New Hampshire. Fontaine Forestry and Millworks of East Montpelier on Route 14, just down from Bragg Farm. And CVTV, where we are, in Barre. We appreciate it. Thanks to Abubakar, our producer, and Tony Campos. It is a pleasure being here, and it is a pleasure to introduce right next to me Sara Akers.
Hello.
And the last time you were in here, which was just a couple of days ago, you were with Lindsay and Josh talking about BootsNBalls. This is the first annual, how exciting is that, Winter Co-Ed Kickball Tournament.
We're really excited. It's going to be so much fun. Saturday, February 16th at the Farwell Street Field. Perfect location. There's lots of snow over there.
Yeah.
I've seen some snow we've had.
And here's the thing. It's going to be probably softening up a little bit, which might be good news for you guys.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's good news.
No matter what.
Yeah. It can be a little slushy, Yeah. You'll have to wear your instead of your winter boots, it'll have to be your rain boots.
We were talking about the Winter Co-Ed softball tournament and the fact that they play no matter what for the last 20 years, no matter if there's been a storm or rain or whatever the weather's doing, we're playing no matter what.
Yeah, so. Rain or shine. We did check the 20-day weather forecast, 10-day weather forecast. It's looking pretty good so far.
Good.
So fingers crossed.
So
we'll be good to go.
So right after Valentine's Day. Wow. All right. So what 6:30 in the morning is when the teams are going to start getting there? That's crazy.
So we have teams starting at 7 a.m. for their first games.
Yeah.
But we like them to be there at least 15 minutes, 20 minutes, so we can go over rules and things like that, just to make sure everybody's registered in and to get acclimated. And so we'll have people there pretty early. And this is going to be an annual thing? Yeah, of course. All right. So introduce this young lady next to you and the story behind BootsNBalls. So today I have with me, this is Sara Smith. Yay! And next to her, this is Rowen. This is Rowen Smith. This is who we're doing it for.
This is it.
Rowen Smith and his mom are here. We're so grateful they could be here today, and it's just, he's amazing. They're amazing. They're just wonderful people. Oh, Mom, you've had your hands full. Wow. Yeah. Wow. What a job. What a job. And tell us about your little boy and what's going on.
Well, Rowen has a condition called polymicrogyria. It's a rare brain malformation. He was diagnosed at 4.5 months old after he started having seizures.
Wow.
So
just push that mic.
It was pretty you know, it was a pretty alarming first day. The first day he had 6 seizures, we ended up in the hospital at UVM Medical Center. He, the next day he had 15, and then from there he was having 30 to 40 a day. Sometimes we lose count after 40 seizures, and we're just unable to get him under control.
So is this, definitely the furthest thing from a doctor, but I mean, is this like epilepsy or?
So it's a type of epilepsy that he has. Is called intractable epilepsy, which is a epilepsy that's unable to be. It's difficult to treat.
Sure.
So he's on numerous medications and still has seizures.
Wow.
So the epilepsy, though, is caused from the brain malformation. So they know why he has epilepsy, where in some cases people have epilepsy and they never really find a reason.
Yeah.
But on top of the seizures, he also has, can you wait?
It's adorable.
Have a smile and wait.
He's so sweet. He's got the most contagious smile.
You say hi?
Hey, Rowen. Yeah, look at that smile.
He, I don't remember what I was saying.
Yeah,
No, it's okay. It's a lot to
It's when, so on top of the seizures, he also has global developmental delays. So he has delays, difficulty swallowing. He's a high aspiration risk. He has respiratory complications.
Wow.
He has difficulty. He's considered hemiplegic, so his left side he doesn't have very good use of.
My goodness.
And so we just kind of take it day by day. We don't know what he's going to be able to do down the road, but we're hopeful and we keep pushing forward.
Sure. Gosh, I wish there were more moms and dads in the world like you. And speaking of dad, tell me about dad.
Dad is Jeremy. We were both psychiatric nurses and worked together for many years, and then, got married. We have an older son. His name is Slade. He's 10, and he's a pretty amazing older brother. But Jeremy works for Vermont Psychiatric Care Hospital. He's worked for the state for many years, and he's a pretty amazing dad.
Yeah. That's so cool. And you guys are all going to be there during, at least
Yeah, they're going to be there for the kickoff party and for the tournament.
Wow.
So, yeah, they're really excited. They've even got a team that they're going to
play.
They're playing.
Are you playing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
she's
so
all about
cool.
it.
That's so cool. And you have a remarkable young lady who is kind of helping you drive the bus every day, Emma.
Emma, yeah.
Tell us about Emma.
Emma is just phenomenal. We met, I met Emma when I was able to work before. Rowen has been my full-time job since his diagnosis. But before, I was working for Washington County Mental Health, and I met Emma, who was working there as well. And then, fast forward a couple of years, I ran into her at Healthy Living, and
wow.
He had just been approved for hours for a personal care attendant, and so
Great.
I mentioned it to Emma, and everything just fell into place.
Wow. Wow. What a story.
Yeah.
What a story. So how did you, Sara, find out about Erica and Rowen?
We actually had a mutual friend, which at the time we didn't know was a mutual friend because we didn't know each other, but we had lots of nominations, and they were one of them. And after we had done the interview with them, we knew, with the financial assistance, they definitely need our help. This little boy needs our help. And we couldn't be more happy to be doing this tournament for them. So it was really through our friend Wanda, such a wonderful woman, that had forwarded their information on to me. And we discussed it in our committee, and here we are.
So you live in East Montpelier.
We do.
So let's talk about some of the financial difficulty that you've been up against. What are we talking about here? I'm sure you could talk for hours about it. But
well, Rowen has been hospitalized many, many times. We're fortunate to have good insurance, but we do have a lot of those, not covered by insurance expenses.
Sure.
Home modifications, that aren't covered. Right now, one of our challenges is, getting him in and out of our home because we don't have a ramp. So, just to be able to leave and go take a walk isn't easy. You need a couple people to be able to pick him up and carry his chair out of the house. We also have, he's going to be getting a hospital bed. Right now he sleeps in our room next to our bed because of his seizures.
Sure.
But he also needs a hospital bed, which is covered by insurance. Unfortunately, it won't fit in our bedroom. So the room next to ours was originally going to be his room, but we really need it to be open
Connected,
to our room,
sure.
so we can get to him quickly.
Wow. So hospitalized for surgery or for?
He's been hospitalized. Initially he was hospitalized for seizures. Eventually he was transferred to Boston Children's, and we were there for quite some time. After that, they want him to come in to see what his brain activity is looking like. So sometimes we have planned admissions that we go to Boston, and we sometimes end up staying there longer than expected.
Sure.
Because if they see things that are concerning and need to make medication changes.
Yeah.
He's really prone to respiratory infections, so he's had a lot of pneumonias. So that will end up land us in the hospital as well. And then earlier this year, or last year, we're in 2019.
2019 came up quick, I know.
Now, in May, he had a surgery called a corpus callosotomy, where they cut the corpus callosum, which is what connects your two hemispheres of your brain, and allows them to communicate with each other. They separated the two hemispheres completely in an effort. The seizures were so severe that they were becoming generalized and taking over his whole brain so quickly that they did it in an attempt to try to at least lessen the severity of the seizures.
So you and it's Jeremy, am I right?
Yeah.
You and Jeremy really have to almost take a crash course in medicine. I mean, what you've had to learn out of necessity.
We're both nurses, but we're adult psychiatric nurses, so this was a whole new ball game. And things they were talking about in surgeries they were talking about we had never heard of before, have not been familiar with, a lot of, we weren't familiar with his condition, but even when we've had other doctors or pediatricians, sometimes they have to look it up too.
Right.
So it's not common. But yeah, I mean, it's been a crash course in, really emergency medicine with him. We have a hospital unit basically at our house.
How do you know he's having a seizure?
Well, initially he has he doesn't have them anymore while he's awake that we know of. They haven't captured any on EEG while he's awake, but his seizures when he has them are coming right out of sleep. So when he's sleeping, it's kind of like our highest alert that we have to be watching. He has monitors that monitor his heart rate and his oxygen levels. And
is that what I was hearing before?
Yeah.
That was beeping? Okay. Yeah.
When he's awake and wiggling, sometimes it goes off.
Sure.
But when he's sleeping and it goes off, we run.
Yeah.
He would have significant oxygen level drops and heart rate drops.
Wow.
We had to be evaluated. We had to go to Boston Children's cardiology to make sure that he didn't have a heart defect as well. That was causing the heart rate drops, and they even contemplated putting in a pacemaker to try to keep his heart going during seizures.
Wow. So you're so, as most parents are with toddlers, especially when the kids are sleeping close by, you're trained, you know, Mom, you're trained that you just wake up out of a dead sleep when you hear. So you and Jeremy are just really, no matter how tired you are, you're going 0 to 60 in a half a second.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like it's like being in crisis mode all the time.
Sure.
It's hard to think about the next hour or the next day or to plan things because we're always ready for the crisis.
Yeah.
That, when he was having seizures far more frequently before the surgery, they were every day, and he would stop breathing. He would turn blue. His heart rate would drop really low, and we would be prepared to give CPR for every single seizure. So it's a pretty intense existence.
Yeah, you're constantly walking on eggshells, and if you have a rough day, or something, something shakes down in your life, whether it's your elderly parents or a pet or issues at work, you've got to continue to stay focused, which in itself is just, I can't imagine.
Well, it was a given that I wasn't going to be able to return to work because of his seizures, and at this time, he can't be left without a nurse.
Yeah.
So we do have he actually is the only kid in Washington County at this point in time that has high-tech pediatric nursing allotted through the state, and so when we're able to get nurses for 55 hours a week through Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice, we have nurses.
Aren't they amazing?
Yeah.
Aren't they amazing?
Yeah.
If we can just give a little plug for them, they're unbelievable.
I mean, even just to be able to take a nap or to take a shower, or the first time
Huge.
I went out and went grocery shopping by myself was like
amazing. Sure. It's remarkable how easily we can take things for granted. But Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice helped me out with both my mom and dad, and I know exactly what you're saying. Just to get an hour or two break is huge.
Yeah.
It's a game changer, really, for the rest of the day. It can be, anyway.
It really is. We're really blessed to have the nurses that we have, and one of them will be there on the 16th to hang out with Rowen, so Jeremy and I can play.
Wow.
And and they'll be coming to Gusto's, and one of the nurses has a team that she's putting together. So
what did it feel like when Sara got in touch with you?
Well, I thought it couldn't be real. She sent me a message on Facebook, and I thought, I don't know who this is. It's probably one of those scam things. And then I think she must have sensed my hesitation, because she said, we have a mutual friend, and let me know. I'm like, oh, this is someone local.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean,
you have to.
It's not every day someone's in your Facebook Messenger asking.
Sure.
Like, hey, can we meet up?
Hey, can we help you?
Yeah, so I can totally understand, like, what is this? What is happening here?
And then, she made arrangements to come and meet us and meet Rowen, and she's been a guardian angel.
Wow.
She has. I mean, and her energy is unbelievable. And, immediately my husband and I felt so blessed just to meet them, and how enthusiastic they were, and how full of energy that we were like, it doesn't matter if Rowen is selected or not. We want to be friends with these people.
Yeah.
We want to hang out with them. Sure.
For sure. Yeah. And as he grows, he can, most certainly be part of.
Oh yeah.
It's unbelievable. So when you go to Boston, so what's it like when you're down there, even unexpectedly longer than you thought? You've got to you have to make changes in your work schedule, your supervisors, and that's got to be a big deal.
Well, like I said, I haven't been able to return to work, so it's been a hit on us to go from 2-income household to 1.
Yeah. And then Jeremy's got to make adjustments.
And he has an amazing supervisor that has been really, really supportive. So that's made a huge difference. And it's, you know, if he's at home and not there, then, you know, he's not able to concentrate. And not to mention, there's usually so many decisions to be made all the time, and things are changing and treatments are changing, that we really have to be there to make those decisions together.
Sure.
It's hard to make arrangements for our older son. Slade is really, we've always been a close family, but he's really close to his brother, and it's really hard for them to be apart.
Wow.
And so it's really beneficial for Rowen, especially when he had surgery. We were gone for almost 2 months, and
where are you staying for those 2 months?
Well, one of us lives in the hospital with Rowen. We stay right at his bedside. And so when Jeremy and I trade off, we are able to get huge shout out to Green Mountain Transit. They are our local, they're our local transportation broker through Medicaid. Rowen qualifies for Medicaid because of his disability. And so they will book rooms for us, you know, given the medical necessity. And so, you know, we have to have a place close by. If family housing isn't available through Boston Children's or the Ronald McDonald House, which, you know, they serve a whole city. So
yeah, of course
there's not always availability, but they'll help us out with getting a room so that one of us can actually try to get a decent night's sleep before we trade off the next day.
And a shower.
Showers are important.
But you're catching meals on the run when and where you can.
Always, yeah. I mean, it's you know, at the Children's Hospital, well, and when he was at Spaulding Rehab after he had surgery, you know, the cafeteria isn't open 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So, you know, at Boston Children's, they have Pain that are open 24 hours a day. Yeah. So we look at the clock and realize it's midnight and we haven't had lunch.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, so that's really helpful to be able to run down and grab something, but it's not easy. You know, it's not easy to just run out of his room for a moment, especially if he's not doing well. Mm-hmm. And usually when he's there and on continuous monitoring, they hook him up to EEG leads, and they have cameras in the room and audio, and they have people in the EEG lab watching him in real time. And so one of us has to be at his bedside 24/7, so we can't both leave his room. One of us has to be at his bedside to be able to talk to them when he's having a seizure.
So with that said, you know, I don't know how else to say this, but kudos to you and Jeremy for staying together and staying married. I mean, this has got to be straining on even a healthy marriage.
It is. It's, you know, it's hard on a marriage, and it's hard on a family, and it's hard on our 10-year-old who was, you know, an only child until he was 8 years old.
Sure.
Yeah. So, you know, the world revolved around him, and then all of a sudden, you know, we were trying to think of if we'd even been away from him for an overnight before, you know, not very often, and all of a sudden not being with him for a whole month is pretty tough.
Oh, sure. Wow.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. Sara, I guess, you know, thank you for finding these folks right here in our backyard and doing this. Tell me again about about all the proceeds. I know there's different ways to raise money for the family, but first of all, the kickoff is one way.
So the kickoff party is happening this Saturday at Gusto's, which we're really excited about. And Josh did something amazing so he's charging $10 at the door for a meal. You've got the 2 bands that are playing, which we talked about last time. We're hoping your husband hopefully will get up on stage, maybe play guitar or banjo, or I wasn't sure what instrument he played, but so we've got that, and Josh is donating the $10 back to the event. So we're also be doing a 50-50 raffle, silent auction, a regular raffle. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can donate. We even have our online shout out to Travis Oaks and Granite City Graphics for doing the shirts. Very amazing job. Yeah, we've got our 2019 limited edition. We've got the Vermont logo on the front with our logo on the back. It's really cool. And so every clothing item that you purchase is 50% of that is donated back to the family as well.
Wow.
And then the registration fee, everything at the tournament, 100% of the proceeds go to this family. I've got another fundraiser that I'm doing is Food for a Cause, which that's going to be at the event as well. And 100% of that will go into, we're going to sell burgers and hot dogs and chili and just stuff to keep you moving and going, coffee and cocoa.
Wow.
So, and we've got a PayPal account, so if people can't make it there and they still want to donate, they can donate on the PayPal account. So there's many, many different ways to be involved, and people are more than welcome to come down. They're going to be there. If you don't want to donate to give it to them, come down. And
so is it? So you're both going to be at Gusto's. So it's safe to say that this is a rarity.
Oh, we don't leave the house very often.
Say it again.
Go ahead,
Say it
sorry.
again.
We don't leave the house very often. It seems like when we're, if we're packing up to go someplace, it's to the hospital.
Yeah.
So
Who will be with Rowen
Rowen's coming.
to Gusto's?
yeah,
Yeah.
anybody's allowed
Rowen's coming.
until I think
Wow.
until 9:00. He can be there until 9. Anybody under 21 can be there until 9, and then they have to leave. So Rowan's going to be there.
Rowen loves music. Loves music. He has music therapy twice a week.
Really?
And, yeah, and it's really, really beneficial. And yeah, my husband plays for him all the time.
Guitar.
He plays acoustic. He plays electric. He plays lead, bass. He
Whatever,
plays
yeah.
he plays the upright bass.
Wow.
He plays a lot of instruments.
Talented dude.
He is, and it's really great for Rowen. He really, really loves music, and he also is through Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice. He also is part of the palliative care program. So that's where he has music therapy, where the music therapist actually gets Rowen working. He has to work
Sure.
for the music. He has to play the instruments.
Yes.
Where my husband will just play for him
Sure.
indefinitely. So he gets a little spoiled when the music therapist comes, and like, Patrick, why I have to work?
This is so amazing. You've done so much, Sara. You're kind of carrying on the legacy of your mom and dad, who are so well known, Cass and Shelley Brissett, in our community for. I'm not going to name one thing that they do because they do so much. So much.
Can I just say were and are still my biggest inspirations. And I think a lot of people think that my dad, did everything. Well, the fact of the matter is, sorry, Dad, he was the mouth, the excitement, the one that did the radio, but my mom did the behind the scenes stuff.
She
and
did.
I think that because of their dynamic duo and how they work together, and that they both brought that to the table, I was able to learn from both of them, which molded me to be able to do both aspects of that.
Sure.
And I'm just, I'm just so thankful for them, for everything that they've done. And if it wasn't for the things that they have done, I wouldn't be where I am today doing the things that I am.
And we got to give a shout out to this girl you're telling me about, because your posters are everywhere.
Oh my gosh. So Jen, our wonderful Jen, one of our volunteers, she has been going from store to store, place to place, honestly, probably door to door. She is such a rock star. And she's been collecting silent donation auction items for us. She's on fire. I mean, I think she ran through 200 posters in a week. I couldn't keep up with the demand. It was I need more posters. I need more. You were awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jen.
Yes, thank you so much, Jen.
Anyone else that you want to give a shout out to?
I know
there's a long list of sponsors.
There is a long list of sponsors. So I don't have my poster in front of me. I should know them, but when you're on the spot, I don't want to forget one. So thank you to all of our sponsors, all of our volunteers. We honestly couldn't and wouldn't be able to do it without any of them. And thank you guys so much for just letting us come into your home and, just start this relationship, and for allowing us to do this tournament for you guys. And I'm so blessed and grateful, and I don't really know how else to put it.
There's definitely a level of exposure that you have to be willing to.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on camera now on the podcast here.
Rowen's
and
pictures
on TV,
everywhere.
Yeah, in Rowen's picture. It's all over Facebook. Yeah. One thing I'll tell you is this community rallies together like none other, especially when there's a neighbor that needs a helping hand, don't they? I mean,
oh my gosh,
so remarkable.
I have too many good things to say about Barre and the Barre community, even the surrounding communities, that have come together and for a good cause. And even if they don't know the family they're still in, they're like, yes, like, let's do it, and I think that's really important too, because that's what we're about.
Yeah,
just helping others.
$150 a team. How many teams do we have registered so far?
We're up to about 15. We're hoping to get to 20.
Wow.
So yeah, we're really excited about that. And the last day to register is the 9th, and you can register at the kickoff party.
At Gusto's.
Yep.
And then we got an after party.
Woo!
At
Yes,
the pub
we've
in
got an after party. And I think you guys are coming to that too. They're hanging on to all the parties.
Wow.
So, yeah, we have the kickoff party on the 9th. We've got the event happening on the 16th. And then we have the after party happening at the pub in Williamstown. So, and I, from what Lindsay had said last week, I believe she said all the proceeds from that was going to the event as well, and to benefit Rowen and his family.
And they're doing a special buffet there for
pizza and wing buffet. $5 if you're a player, $10 if player or volunteer.
Yeah.
$10 if you're a spectator, and then if people show up that night, they charge $15.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really, really neat what they've got going on. So you should get a team together because it's cheaper for the pizza and wing buffet.
All right. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So quickly. So if you don't if you want to register before the 9th.
Yep.
At Gusto's, how would you do that?
So you can email me, BootsNBallsInfo@gmail.com, or you can call me 802-249-0836. And you can contact me that way. Look at the Boots and Balls Facebook page.
Cool.
Look us up, find us, get your team together, come here, support Rowen
and be a spectator.
And his family, and be a spectator. I mean,
good luck,
how cool
Mom.
is that?
Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure to have you guys in here. Amazing, and we look forward to it.
Thank you for having us.
We're going to chat with our mayor, Lucas Herring, in just a little bit. Thank you thank you so much again for being part of the podcast and tuning in. Brought to you by CBDCrave.com, Peak Entertainment of Vermont and New Hampshire, Fontaine Forestry and Millworks, and where we are now, CVTV, Public Access Channel 192 and 194. We're back second half here with, a guy that I have been so anxious to have on the podcast, and we've been emailing back and forth, and we finally got a date. A very busy man, none other than our Barre City Mayor, Lucas Herring, right next to me. Hey, man.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good.
I'm so glad that you're in here. I've seen you only a couple of times since you became mayor. I can't believe that was almost a year ago.
Time flies.
Wow. Just on the fly, and I don't remember where, but just a quick handshake and congratulations. But I want to say formally, first of all, this is great. I get to sit down and talk with you for half an hour. Mm-hmm. But congratulations, man. Heartfelt.
Thank you.
I was so happy that you got it.
Yeah.
I was so happy.
Yeah, I mean, after being on council for 7 years, it's just a natural progression. And
it is, yeah.
You know, Tom said he wasn't going to be running again, so,
yeah.
You know, it was an opportunity that I was gladly willing to step up and take.
And Tom really, he really endorsed you. I mean, he supported you, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, during his 12-year tenure as mayor, I was on there for 7 years of it. So
right. He knows you well.
We worked very well together. I mean, we had to pass budgets every year, so it's one of those give and take conversations over time.
Yeah.
And, you know, working with the rest of the councilors to make sure that happens.
Right. You know, I think, and no disrespect to Tom, but I think that most people, when they think of a mayor, they think of someone who's a little bit older. Sorry, Tom. I know he's going to come in here, give me some crap about that. But you're a young guy, man. You're young.
Yeah. Well, you know, I started young and just getting involved. I mean, I was a member of my union for the VSEA and learned a lot about politics from there. And then I became a member of the school board, and then from there, a counselor. And I'm still in my 30s. So, yeah. I've been on council for 8 years now. So.
What do you say to these old Vermonters that like someone to be a little bit more seasoned, and they look at someone who's more seasoned as more experienced? What do you say to those old boys?
Well, so seasoned, it doesn't really matter about age. It just matters about experience.
Sure.
So when you do start younger, you get that experience at a younger age. Yeah. Some people, they could be older and they just haven't had that same experience. They might not be the best for that position.
Sure. So you've been in this studio here at CVTV before.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that for? What was that like?
Well, we actually had a debate here when I ran for mayor. But I've also been here. We're working on new ways of doing communications for the city.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we do public announcements, but you don't typically see those on the television. So what we're doing now is whenever there's a press release, we're reformatting it so it's TV ready.
Friendly. Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
So whenever there's, say, the warming shelters that were stood up during this previous cold snap, or if there's a recent arrest, we've been doing a lot with public safety, so we want to make sure that the messages are getting out.
Wow, I think that's so cool. So you have a great relationship with Tony Campos, and of course this guy over here, Abubakar, is unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, and he comes in and he videotapes our city council meetings.
Yeah, so. And he's just such a great guy. Yeah. Such a great guy. I love working with him, and Tony as well. So what's it been like for the last almost a year? What has it been like? What is the experience of being a mayor?
Yeah, so since I was on council beforehand, every Tuesday night we have the meeting.
Yeah.
So I was ready for that. There are things that emails, for example, that I'm getting now that I never would have gotten as a counselor.
Right.
But it does keep me into the fringe of things, the loop of what's going on, especially at the State House now.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Mayor's Coalition, so there's 8 mayors in the state of Vermont. So we come together, we form an agenda, and we ask the legislature for some items. For example, Act 250 revisions. Right now there's a state process and a local process, and there's a lot of overlap. So in order to make things a little more efficient, you either relax one regulation over the other so that you can go through in a more efficient manner. We're also asking for some downtown housing credits. So the downtown district, because we do have the Barre partnership,
yes,
we're eligible for those credits, and we're just asking for a little bit of an increase so that we can use those funds in the downtown.
I was with a friend, and we saw you not too long ago upstairs at the Blanchard Block. What was that all about?
So we put together a forum. It was called an Opportunity Zone Forum. In the city of Barre, we're one of 14 municipalities that have what's called an Opportunity Zone. It's a federal designation where investors can invest in a new property or new business within that area, and they have a tax benefit. They basically get to skip their capital gains if they put the money into that investment area.
Wow.
So the basic way to explain it is there's Main Street, and there's the side where the police department is on, or Cornerstone, that whole stretch.
Yeah.
That's not in the zone. The zone is on the other side.
Yes.
So you probably have seen a lot recently, the C&W Print, they're moving over to one side.
Yes.
There's a lot of movement from one side of the street to the other. It's just a more business-friendly side of the street right now. And
why is that? What do you think? That's one of the things I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, so what it is with the tax credit, you get those opportunities. At the same time, it's set up because of the U.S. Census Tract. So these two tracts are split up. It's federally designated, and it's based on the poverty level. So on the side that has all the credits, it's a higher poverty level, and that's why it's getting those incentives.
South side.
If you, you can call it that.
Yeah, wow.
It's like the southwest side versus the northeast side. Yeah.
Wow. And right after you were elected mayor, I remember I sent you an email saying, "Oh my gosh, let's see if we can." And I've said this to Tom a million times. Speaking on behalf of so many Vermonters, I think anyway, why are those properties on the north side across from Nelson's still vacant?
Well, it's for a variety of reasons. I mean, if you're a property owner, it's your property. You can do what you want with it. Say like your own personal house, right?
Yeah.
So if you own a property, you get to choose how that house is occupied, what you put in it. So you do have some landlords that they just don't want to fill their space, and that's their right to do so.
Sure.
At the same time, you have other people that they then do buy the property and they want to do something with it. So you will see some more businesses moving in on that side of the street. Even the tenant for City Place, we saw Positive Pi go away.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen is Positive Pi went away, the Agency of Education went away, but we're going to see V-Trans move into that building.
Okay.
And they're taking over the entire complex.
So many questions I have for you.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of firing them off the top of my head. What's something that you would love to see come to Barre? Something that you would love to see, not necessarily right on Main Street, but close by. Something, maybe something different.
Well, I mean, I did advocate for a teen center.
I was just leading you up on that.
Yeah,
brother.
you probably were. But it doesn't have to be right on Main Street. But when we surveyed the students at Spaulding High School,
Yes.
That's where they want to be.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is it's close to the library for those who do want to go over and study and have a quieter atmosphere. Right. But a teen center really is something for kids to hang out and be a little louder, listen to the music, play some pool, pick up a guitar and play.
Yeah.
It's also an opportunity to take some of that time after school to learn new skills.
Yeah.
I actually had kids come up to me and want to know how to write a resume. There was a student that she was working at KFC, no longer could get there, transportation issues, and wanted to just work in the downtown, something that she could get to.
Wow.
So, and this is coming from a teenager.
Sure.
And if we're making barriers for them to employment or to education, then we just need to find a way to achieve that.
Wow. And break those barriers down.
Yeah.
Wow. So where do we stand on that possible future teen center?
Well, so what happened for this year, because we set the budget for town meeting day.
Yes.
And
just coming up soon.
Yeah, coming up on March 5th.
Yep.
And basically, we wanted to keep the budget at the rate of inflation or less. So the rate of inflation is 2.4%. Our budget increase is 2.38. We're making sure that we don't ask for more than what people can afford. So during that conversation, it was, what can we add to the budget and what can't we? Overwhelmingly, the council at least wanted to ensure that we had a 16th firefighter position that was back in the budget.
Yes.
And when you do that, that's at least $88,000 extra in the budget. So we were trimming around the edges as it was already.
Understand.
So with that, we ended up losing a program, the Bees program. If this budget passes, it still isn't going to be in there.
Not familiar with the Bees program. What's that now?
So the Bees, if you travel around in the downtown, it looks like bike cops.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
They're actually for college students that during the summer, they take a part-time job, they get a stipend, and that job is making sure that people are safe, things are going okay.
They're the eyes.
They're the eyes. And then they can report back things to the officers. So without that presence in the downtown, it's still going to be, you can contact an officer directly. They're just not going to be buzzing around on their bikes.
Sure. What's been the most challenging part of being the mayor of Barre for the last almost a year now?
Yeah, it's really those conversations. You want to do as much as you can, but you have limited resources. So you try to make the best that you can with those resources. For example, we have a limited number of police officers, but we've been trying a new program for the streets crime unit. And what that really means is rededicating those officers to do work on specific cases so we can see them through. This was an initiative that our police chief, Tim Bombardier, put together. He has been very successful with the program. And if we can, maybe next year we can add another officer to make it even more successful. But leading back to that communication piece, we are now able to say, press release, this person was arrested, they're arraigned, they're going to court the next day, and instead of them getting a little piece of paper saying, please come on back sometime in the future, and then maybe not being able to track them down.
Yeah.
So there's a quicker process for those that we can find that have committed crime. There quicker turnaround for warrants in order to make those arrests happen, and just seeing it through. So making sure that we're making a safer community, but using the same resources that we have right now.
Is there anything intimidating about being the mayor? I would imagine there would be.
Well, I mean, you're not going to know everything, and really you just have to be honest with people about that. Again, I get emails all the time about issues that are going on.
Sure.
What's happening with flooding over here or a fire over there. Yeah. Really, I'm not the fire chief. So
Sure,
if there's something going on, I can point them to the chief of the fire department or the police department or the streets department.
And that's not to deflect, but that's to serve serve the city better by getting a more accurate answer.
Yeah, if anything, I'm acting as the conduit to get them to the right person at the right time.
Of course.
So, for example, with the streets department, I do get complaints about, if the street isn't plowed in a certain area. Like, why wasn't my street plowed versus somewhere else?
Oh, boy.
And a lot of it has to do with bus routes and, main areas of traffic.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to make sure kids can get to school safely,
that's
you know
priority.
what that bus route is.
Yeah.
You know what the sidewalk is that the kids are taking, and you just want to make sure that they're safe.
Right.
And then there's going to be other areas that will come a little bit later.
If I were mayor, one of the things that I would be concerned about, and maybe less now because there's been some great changes recently, is flooding in the Granite City, and I know there was just some chatter last week about the new
trash racks.
Yeah, the trash racks. Yeah, with the ice jams.
So I mean,
that's
this
great.
is great.
That's great news.
And I mean, I was on council when they were put in, but I have to give the credit to the former mayor. He's the one that took the initiative on it.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, and what it really is a trash rack is. They're steel beams that are driven into the ground, and they act as kind of like a fence or a barrier.
Yeah.
So when trees come in a flood,
sure.
We flooded twice in the past decade pretty severely.
Yes.
And what it does is those trees come down, and they hit this trash rack instead of going to a bottleneck point like a bridge.
Yeah.
So if it gets jammed under a bridge, it's just going to divert the water around the bridge and onto the street.
Yeah.
So by holding it back, we can actually have equipment there to pull the trees out to make sure that the water flows correctly.
Yeah.
And we just work to make sure that there's less bottlenecks as well, so that the water doesn't come out of the stream.
Wow.
So to your point, though, is what we found out is in the winter, it helps with ice jams, too.
Yeah.
So they were monitoring. Of course, we had a lot of snow, and then it melted quickly, and then it froze. So you had these huge ice chunks that were coming down.
Sure.
And those trash racks were able to hold back some of that ice.
How's our water system underground with what happened just recently in Montpelier with not one but two water main breaks?
Well, three, actually.
Three?
Yeah, Nelson was, I think, the last one. But
didn't know that. How we're in pretty good shape. We have some new plumbing down there. Am I right?
Well, we do on Main Street.
On Main Street, that's what I'm.
The entire system, there are areas that are over 100 years old, and this is actually why on the ballot you're going to see a request for $2.5 million in a bond, and the bond would be paid back over 10 years. But it's for some of that infrastructure. So Main Street, when we did the big dig, for example,
the big dig,
we did the pipes underneath the street, and then we redid the whole infrastructure on top for the road. And we knew that some areas had older piping, but that's what we have to work on next.
What's the state of Barre now, and what do we expect on March 5th?
On March 5th, so no charter changes. We did a couple of charter changes back in November. H73, which is a bill currently at the legislature, sponsored by our representatives. That's there for the legislature to take care of. So long story short, we have to put something on the ballot as a council. The voters vote on it. And then once that is voted upon, it actually goes to the legislature for approval.
Okay.
And that changes our charter language to allow us to do different things. Sometimes it's we ask for revisions because statute used to say you can only charge up to $1,000, and since that language is in there, you have to go through that whole process to change it from $1,000 to another number.
Sure.
So what we actually asked for this time was, instead of putting in a number, we want to associate it with a fee schedule. So then we take that out of the charter, reference the fee schedule, so it's easier to change those numbers as needed.
Wow. Wow.
So just to speak of town meeting day, so nothing like that this time around, no charter changes, but we're asking for our general budget, which is that 2.38% increase, which also includes another article, which is the streets repair fund. So it's $425,000 that we're looking for there. It's a slight bump up so we can fix the roads.
Okay.
And then the other ones are related to the bonds. So the $2.5 million that we're asking for is over a period of 10 years to fix the infrastructure.
Wow. I'm sure you get lots of complaints. My road's got potholes in it.
Right, and that's the thing. When you look at if this street is bumpy versus this street where there's a little water pooling on one side of it,
Sure.
well, you got to do it priority, right?
Of
So,
course.
yes, you're probably going to run through some puddles, especially now with the snow melting off. Some of the drains are covered because the snow is on top of them. So you're going to have pooling water.
Yeah.
But that's not a priority compared to streets that are really just being torn apart.
Yeah.
And you got those potholes that when you hit it with your tire,
Yeah.
you know it.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure that we use the money appropriately and fix what needs to be fixed first.
I've had Tom Lose on the air with me so many times over the years, and we've built quite a friendship and camaraderie between the two of us. I remember some things that he has said to me that I'll probably take with me forever. But one of the things was, I remember Tom saying to me, JD, if you're successful with anything you do, you're going to have a bigger target on your back.
Yeah.
Do you find, even though you're coming up on a year anniversary, has that been somewhat true for you a little bit?
Well, I think what I've been trying to do is make sure that everybody is aware of everything that's going on and make sure that they have an opportunity to be heard. Sometimes it's that target comes there because people feel like you're doing something without including them.
Yeah.
Really, my first year has been about communicating more. Just for safety, for example, not only did I have an opportunity forum for the opportunity zones, but we had a public safety forum. We talked about the neighborhood development program that we've been implementing. So within the city, there were 2 areas that had neighborhood watches. We've now set up 15 different areas within the city to have these discussions and see what would be better for them. And it's not just about crime, though. It's you get the group in, you sit at like a room about this size, and they give you input about what they feel is a safety concern. But then it becomes more of, well, I do need my road fixed, or there is this sidewalk over here that the grass is growing out of it. There's something wrong. Or, it could be when I'm traveling, I'm stopped at a stoplight, and there's this bush on the side where if that bush wasn't there, I would feel safer trying to go into traffic.
Yeah.
So when you hear it, sometimes it's really low-hanging fruit. Something where just take a shrub down, and people will see that change. It doesn't cost much, but it's also a large safety improvement.
Yeah.
So the more you can do that, you're actually getting the input from individuals in the community and making it. They're owning it, right? They're giving you the input.
Right, of course.
So even with the Teen Center project, of course, I felt in an awkward position because there were a couple counselors that were trying to make it still happen. Even though it would have put the rate over our rate of inflation. So it felt difficult, but I don't really feel like it's a target. I think it's more of we had the conversation, everybody came together, and it ended up where it was.
And you recognize the need for something like that. You're an advocate of it.
True. I mean, and we can only do what we can do.
Right.
So if not this year, maybe next year.
Yeah.
And if not that year, we'll try again the next year.
Right. Who is your mentor? You must have one, someone that you turn to for a little bit of counsel, a little bit of advice. Do you have someone?
Well, I'd say a little bit of everything. A city is a very big area and a lot of diverse areas. So if it's something going to be for public safety, I mean, I can look to the chief of police for that, or the fire department. We've been doing the coffee with the mayor sessions.
Yeah. Oh, that's. I meant to ask you about that. Yeah.
So the first one was by myself, and I went down and chatted with people. And the input was, it'd be great if we could also, learn more about the different department heads and what they do. So I had the second one with the chief of police, and he came down. People came in, asked public safety related questions. We even had a couple officers stop by during it. And the last one that we had this last week was with the fire chief. So Douglas Brent was there with me. People came in, and they were still asking questions all across the board, not just fire related, but it gives the opportunity for them to meet him and know who he is.
Sure.
So just getting the communications out more and more as much as we can.
And when you say that, it makes me think of, gosh, I remember, I think I sent you an email saying congratulations and saying just stay connected to it's one thing to implement great things and to get them done, but it's another thing to communicate those things to the public. And man, you just can't be in the media enough. I mean, if there's especially if there's great news to report, but even if there's not so great news, get on the air. You've got so many different platforms and ways to do it, if not just social media alone, but you've got radio, you've got TV, you've got this podcast. There's great ways to get the messages out.
Well, and in the past year as well, we've been advancing how we work with CVTV. I mentioned before that we put the press releases out there, but we increased the microphones within our city hall so that it can pick up the voices better. Yeah. There was complaints that they couldn't hear what everybody was saying, especially in the crowd. They went to live streaming. Yeah. So before it had to be you had to watch on cable TV.
Sure. Right.
Well, now it's recorded, and you could go on cvtv.org before. Yeah. But now you can watch it live through a live stream during the council meeting rather than having to wait for it a couple days later.
Sure.
So, I've been actually taking an inventory of all the items that we discuss every week. I compile it monthly, and I give a letter. It's actually in the World paper. Yeah. So if you've had the last World paper, January 19th, you'd have an overview of the past month. Yeah. And then that's also on the city webpage. So, people can link to that. I put out messages on Front Porch Forum, and I hope to continue that more too.
Yeah. Front Porch Forum is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm talking about how to talk to someone directly. You get a message out to about 2,000 people with one message.
Right. Yeah. I hope those folks will come on my podcast with me, because I would love to just thank them for all they've done.
So, Michael, I'm sure he would.
All right.
So, a little known fact, the first year I was on city council, my effort was to give a little money to start this little thing called Front Porch Forum for Barre.
Did not know that.
So, It was a small allocation, but it was what we needed to kickstart it. It was like a Kickstarter back then, or a GoFundMe. But it was from our municipal budget. And from there, it's been plugging along. And, year after year, I would give a little bit of a report every once in a while just to show where we're at. And this past year, we had our 2000th newsletter that came out through Front Porch Forum for Barre City.
Wow.
And so we, as council, actually voted to give a little bit more in order to support, Front Porch Forum.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. And please get a message to Michael that I would love to have him.
Yeah, I'll put you on an email
together. That'd be great, man. So what's speaking of email, I guess you would you could probably check email all day and all night, and maybe you do. But what's a typical day for Lucas Herring?
So most people don't realize, and this is true for Tom, or
this is true. I know where you're going to go.
There's a day job.
Yeah.
So by day, I am Lucas Herring, IT Director for the Department of Corrections. So I do have to schedule time off from work to do some functions. Like I took a little bit of time off from work to come here today.
Wow, thank you.
And, so that's what I have to do. I have to make sure that I have my day job to support me. Wow. And then I do take, a lot of times it's vacation time in order to do some of the events that I go to. So, for example, tomorrow I took the day off so I can go to the generator up in Burlington.
Yeah.
And the generator is a maker space.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see what they have in place up there, because hopefully we can bring something into Central Vermont. It might not be exactly Barre City, but if it's in Central Vermont, it will help the Spaulding High School kids if they want to go check something out.
Yeah, yeah.
A day trip is a lot easier when it's 15 minutes away versus 45 minutes or an hour away.
We're winding down here, just a few minutes left, but I want to say, how about Joe Waldsworth and the rest of these boys for putting together this system here in the Granite City to try to keep the needles off the streets?
Yeah, the Sharps Alliance is amazing. They did a pre and post survey. He's actually going to be in tomorrow night at City Council to present on it.
Yeah.
Him and Joan Marie Mizek from the Department of Health.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
Central Vermont Hospital too. I mean, just it's been tremendous with this.
So, I mean, one thing that we heard too is the parks, right? You want to make your park safe.
Yeah.
And if there's needles there, you're not going to feel like it's a safe place.
Sure.
And a lot of times the needles people don't know where to put them.
Right.
They can't put them in the regular trash. It's not just because of drug use. It could be because maybe you have diabetes.
Yeah.
You have needles. Maybe you have pets that need shots.
Yeah, right. And Joe made that point when I had him on the podcast saying the same thing. Does Barre City have a drug problem that is alarming to you? I know there's problems everywhere, but what about Barre? Are you concerned about it? Is that on your radar?
So it is on the radar, but it's really the same conversation that every community is having, and not just in Vermont, but across the United States. There was a prescription issue.
Sure.
People would be prescribing addictive drugs. People would become addicted. They needed to find a way to meet that addiction, and instead of getting the correct help, they were going other ways. So we actually had Congressman Welch in here this past summer. He had an opioid forum. We talked about it then.
Yeah.
There's even assistance that they're looking at through medical assisted treatment through the Department of Corrections. So if you are incarcerated and you need help, you get it there before you come back into the community.
Wow.
And anything that they can do to divert people away from being addicted to something, it actually increases the likelihood that they're not going to recidivize. Not only that, but they're not going to commit other crimes. Because a lot of times people are stealing stuff because they're trying to steal to support their habit.
Right.
So if you get rid of the habit, there's less likely to need to steal.
Do you get comments from residents saying, Lucas, please keep the parolees out of our city?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people are going to go back to the community that they came from. And sometimes it's a little misleading, but it's usually true. It's people are coming back. They're getting the resources they need from the people that they're around. The Community Justice Center, for example, they have a COSA program, which is the Circle of Support, and it gets people in the community to help someone coming back. So if you know someone's coming back into your community because maybe they're a relative or a friend,
right,
you can be that person that surrounds them with proper assistance, and support so that they can be successful, rather than going back into the life that led them there in the first place.
Of course. We have a minute left. What's up with the Heritage Festival?
So we are still, I guess last I heard, they're still looking for the executive director, but they did have Jeffrey Tupper-Giles carve out a little time for him so he can work on the program this year. So not much different than in years past. He'll be working on setting up the parade, getting the sponsorships in place, and setting it up for July 27th. So the weekend of July 27th.
So we're still going to have one. That's fantastic. Last weekend in July. Lucas Herring, our mayor here in the Granite City, our special guest in the studio this time around on Aired Out. My podcast is brought to you by CBDcrave.com, Peak Entertainment of Vermont and New Hampshire, Fontaine Forestry and Millworks of East Montpelier, and of course CVTV Public Access Television Channel 192 and 194. Barre City Mayor,
it's good to see you
Lucas
again.
Herring with us this time around. Please come back soon. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we could have another half hour right now, but
I'm sure we could, and we're going to get you on again soon. You promised me that.
I promise you that.
All right. That's going to do it for Aired Out this time around. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you share. We'd love to see some more comments on the YouTube channel here. Our podcast, Aired Out. Thank you so much.